Better days are coming. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, PT, Martinique, the Eastern Caribbean, the rest of the world. It is a terrific Tuesday in the land of the living. Thank you so very much for starting your morning off with us here at the GBN. Always appreciate your listenership, your viewership. Thank you for your time and your company. Thank you so very, very, very much for tuning in to Good Morning Grenada. I trust you had a restful, peaceful Monday night and you're ready to get Tuesday up and running, whichever platform you're using this morning. Those of you joining us on the GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11 and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, and the folks joining us on Party Grenada and Go To Fet Facebook pages. Always a pleasure to have you. To our viewers and listeners across the Caribbean, whichever part of the region you are. Hold on. It's been a while. Let me name 5. Good morning to the residents in Dominica, those of you in St. Lucia, Martinique, Jamaica, and the Bahamas. That's 5? Yes, that's 5. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Don't worry if I didn't name you next time. Sometimes I just need to wake up the brain. I'm going to name one more and I'm going to hail up the residents of Puerto Rico. Our Spanish people up there. Good morning, everybody. To folks joining us internationally, whichever part of the world you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Hope you will have a good day, are having a good day, have had a good day. Let me see. Those of you in Denmark, Germany, France, Afghanistan, and then I am going to also hail up the folks in Nigeria. My brothers and sisters on the the motherland. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, brain wake up now. Let's go. It's time for Word of the Day. This morning's Word of the Day is perfidy. Perfidy. It's spelled P-E-R-F-I-D-Y. Perfidy. It's a noun which means deliberate breach of faith or trust, faithlessness or treachery. Perfidy, it derives from the Latin word which means faithlessness and from the adjective which literally means through faith, but more accurately translated as beyond the limits of faith. The base of perfidus is fidus, which is trust, honesty, or faith, and is related to the verb which means to trust. Perfidy was first recorded in English in the late 1500s. That's the word of the day this morning, perfidy. It's spelled P-E-R-F-I-D-Y. It is a noun which means deliberate breach of faith or trust, faithlessness or treachery. An example of the use of the word: already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, it's scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy. Another example of the use of the word: at least to this neurotic immigrant, a paralyzing problem of cultural fidelity and perfidy. That's the word of the day this morning, P-E-R-F-I-D-Y, perfidy, a noun which means deliberate breach of faith or trust, faithlessness or treachery. All right, and let's see what's the thought of today as we go about this terrific Tuesday. Hold on, let me groove to our boys today. All right, let's go. The thought for today is: sometimes you aren't meant to fix it, but rather walk through it. Sometimes you aren't meant to fix it, but rather walk through it. Some situations, it's not meant to be fixed. It's meant to stay broken. The first thing that comes to mind is relationships, whether it's friendship, romantic relationships. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Sometimes it's broken and it's meant to stay broken. You just need to walk through it, get past it, and move on. It doesn't always apply, or should say, it doesn't only apply to relationships. There are other situations as well. It could be professionally. Not everything is meant to be fixed. Some things are meant to stay broken. That's what I got from it. The thought for today: sometimes you aren't meant to fix it, but rather walk through it. it's better to leave it broken and keep trudging, keep going forward and keep walking. Walk through it, get over it, use it as a stepping stone, use it as a lesson. And we try our best to fix it. We fix it, it breaks it. We fix it, it breaks. And it is a continuous cycle. Sometimes we don't get the message that it just should stay broken. So that's a thought for today. Sometimes you aren't meant to fix it, but rather walk through it. That's the thought for today. All right, let's see what is celebrated today, the 28th day of the best month of the year. Don't worry, 2 more days, Ollie, 2 more days. I would never get tired of saying it or reminding y'all that September is the best month of the year. Let's see what's celebrated. Today, it is what? Today it is World Rabies Day. World Rabies Day. NGOs, governments, and people from all over the world will unite to recognize World Rabies Day to spread awareness about the dangers of the disease and how it can be stopped. The event, put on by Global Alliance for Rabies Control, seeks to educate the public about how rabies can be eradicated in people and domestic animals if we take the appropriate steps. Around the world, dogs are the most common animal affected by rabies, with more than 99% of human cases coming from dog bites. The Global Alliance for Rabies Control sponsors the event not only to raise awareness for one day, but with the hope that communities can put measures in place to help control the spread of rabies all year round. The key is to get your pets vaccinated. It is World Rabies Day, raising awareness about the... Y'all didn't know I love that? Yeah, rabies in people. I know some people with rabies, they probably didn't get bit by an animal, but they just get on a Lord. Let me be myself before I get in more trouble again. It's World Rabies Day. Get your pets vaccinated against the disease. Those of you who have rabies and have not been bitten, set up all yourself right. All it does act flighty. Get it together. All right, World Rabies Day. Raising awareness about the dangers of the disease. Lost my mother say things sometimes. All right, let's see. Information time. First, I am going to, before you go to the picture, just a reminder or a note from the Royal Grenada Police Force. Due to damage to their electrical connections yesterday, they are unable to receive calls via their emergency numbers, which include 911 and police headquarters. That's 4403999. Members of the public are asked to use the following numbers to contact them in the meantime. So again, the RGPF, I've given all the time to get pen and paper, that's why I'm going over the notice. The RGPF is having issues with their emergency numbers, the 4403999 and the 911 number, due to electrical connections. I got the reminder this morning, that's why I know it's still down, just before I came on actually. So the number, all I should have pen and paper by now, the numbers that you can contact the RGPF on 440-2823 407-3122. Again, to contact the RGPF as they try to restore connection, 440-2823 407-3122. 3999 and 911 are down, so those are the numbers you can get the RGPF in the meantime. Once they notify me that everything is back up and running, I will share it with you. And just before we go to the news, we are continuing to keep our eye on the weather system churning east of Grenada and the rest of the southern Caribbean. For those of you up north, Hurricane Sam is continuing to move northwest, but it is still over open waters east of Guadeloupe, as a matter of fact, last night. It is not expected that it will make any major landfall as it continues to trek in open waters. For those of us down here, we are continuing to keep those down here as in the southern Caribbean, we are continuing to keep our eye on a system churning to the east of us. It has not been given a official name, should I put it that way? No, let me not say that. It's still a cyclone. It's not a tropical storm or hurricane as yet, but we are continuing to keep an eye on it because of its size. It is still east. We can expect some inclement weather later in the week, possibly tomorrow, please the Lord, and Thursday. And as it gets closer, Blossom is here to provide the information. Now let's get ready for the morning edition of news. For those of you on radio and those of you on our visual platforms, we're going to bring you highlights of last evening's newscast. Good morning, Grenada, on this terrific Tuesday. We'll be right back.
Third weekend in lockdown saw an increase in the number of tickets being dished out to violators of the COVID-19 regulations. The head of the Community Relations Department, Inspector Trevor Rodney, says the rural areas saw most of the defiance. We open tonight with a report from Crystalina John.
Police officers were met with obstruction while carrying out their duties on the weekend. Although no arrest has been made, the head of the CRD, Inspector Trevor Rodney, is appealing to violators to cease from such practice.
We had some challenges in the execution of our duty. On 2 occasions, we had the road being blocked with barrels and other objects. And that, again, we calling on the public and those violators, those who have violated, please desist from these actions. These actions, they are unlawful and they are jeopardizing both yourselves and law enforcement. And so we are asking you to desist from such practices.
The officer noted an increase in the number of tickets issued this weekend, indicating that more violations took place, especially in the rural communities. 1 ticket carries a fine of $550, and should an individual challenge it in court and fails, it carries a maximum fine of $1,000.
To last weekend, we've seen a slight increase in the amount of tickets issued, so that is an indication generally that some persons would have attempted to violate the regulations. As a matter of fact, we have issued 87 tickets throughout the island, 74 of these for failing to remain at your place of residence, 10 for failing to wear masks or face covering or shield, and 3 for operating business beyond the stipulated period by the regulation. Weapons
were also confiscated during the police operations.
We confiscated a number of items, 6 cutlasses, 1 knife, 1 taser, 1 pair of scissors. Now, this is a proactive, we also using proactive measures to make sure that anything that has the potential to commit a crime, we would move to make sure that these things are confiscated and that we are able to get it off the street to make sure that everyone is safe. During the period also, we seized 6.4 ounces of marijuana and also uprooted 175 marijuana trees.
Generally, the officer said the public has been very cooperative. Crystalina John, GBN News.
And health officials have joined with the police to advocate against social gatherings being witnessed in villages during the lockdown period on weekends. The island's former chief medical officer is among those urging people to follow the rules.
Right now, there is no magic bullet except shared responsibility. Words of medical doctor Francis Martin. Tackling the spread of COVID within the community from a public health standpoint, Dr. Martin says effort from citizens must be garnered. Dr. Martin says that his colleague healthcare providers have done what was necessary and now are at their wits' end.
And I want to make sure you understand it. This is the time for every Grenadian to step up and do what they have to do. I am very clear about this. There is not a lot more that can be done from the doctor's side, from the provider's side. There is an argument as to whether or not administration or ministry should do X, Y, Z. That argument is always going to be there.
Just last week, Dr. Sean Charles made a similar call expressing his disappointment in some Grenadians.
We hear often of persons who test positive. They're instructed to isolate and they refuse to do so. They go about in the communities and they endanger the lives of everyone. This is a very selfish way to behave. There are some popular rum shops or liming areas, liming spots, where there are a number of young and middle-aged men and a few women in between them. They can be seen sitting and behaving as if nothing has happened.
Now his predecessor, who many are calling on to return to some official role in fighting the pandemic, is urging people to do the same.
But as long as the rank and file citizens of our country don't understand that this is their time now for shared responsibility, we are going to see the end of this first wave, but by sure, we're going to see a second wave. The word now should be shared responsibility. And shared responsibility should start with the I. That's me, that's you. I have no doubt that that is what we need at this point in time.
I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.
A very strong plea there from Dr. Francis Martin. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell has assured healthcare providers that they will be duly recognized and rewarded for their role in the campaign against COVID-19. He's also indicated that his administration will devote time and resources to addressing various challenges within the healthcare system. Rena Peart-Thomas tells us more.
According to a press release issued by the Government Information Service, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell assured healthcare providers that they will be duly recognized and rewarded for their role in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. This happened during a series of meetings with the doctors and nurses at the country's hospitals last week. He said, and I quote, "I appreciate the work that is being done, the enormous sacrifices that many are making. Thanks are certainly not enough, and I assure you that government will examine what we can do to ensure that you and all other deserving public officers are appropriately recognized for your diligence and dedication in this dark hour. The healthcare system may have several challenges, but we are committed to resolving as many of the issues as we can. All the problems will not be solved tomorrow, but every attempt will be made to ensure the necessary improvements," unquote. The PM indicated that with the confirmation of community spread and the increase in the number of COVID-19 cases, healthcare workers are already stretched due to limited resources and have been put under immense pressure as they provide care to the increased number of persons requiring medical intervention. The Minister for National Security empathized with doctors, nurses, and other frontline healthcare workers across the country who have been at the forefront, face-to-face with the tragic loss of many lives in Grenada's fight against COVID-19. For GBN News, I am Rena Peart-Thomas reporting.
From a look at health to socioeconomic impacts, COVID-19 has cast about 14,000 Grenadians onto the breadline. The numbers have come from Grenada's Foreign Affairs Minister Oliver Joseph. He made a disclosure while addressing the United Nations General Assembly on Monday.
Scores of Grenadians have been on the breadline since the onset of COVID-19 in Grenada last year, and this was one of the issues brought into sharp focus at the United Nations General Assembly by Grenada's Minister for Foreign Affairs, International Business and CARICOM Affairs, Oliver Joseph.
Preliminary estimate showing that the economy contracted by 13.7% in 2020. Stark declines were recorded in several sectors, most notable tourism and air transport. Unemployment rose from a record low of 15.1% in the fourth quarter of 2019 to 28.4% in the second quarter of 2020, with 14,000 jobs being lost as a direct consequence of the pandemic.
Even as the country's COVID-19 cases are at their highest peak, with more than 120 people dead as a result of the virus, and the plaguing issue of unemployment remains, Minister Joseph said that government is realizing some signs of improvement in the economy.
For the first quarter of 2021, show periods of decline in most sectors, including hotels and air transport. However, there are indications of improved economic activity relative to 2020 as evidenced by second quarter data available for most sectors. Visitor arrivals also increased during the second quarter of 2021 relative to the same period in 2020. This trend is expected to continue in the second half as vaccination rollouts increase and cross-border travel improves globally.
As government prepares for the budget of revenue and expenditure for 2022, Minister Joseph told UN the priorities for the budget are based on government's strategic policy agenda for recovery, transformation, and resilience.
From the pandemic has been especially severe for vulnerable groups, particularly women, youth, and the unskilled, who are overrepresented in the tourism and informal sectors, which were hardest hit by the pandemic. 16 months after the first COVID-19 case was reported on island, the local economy continues to experience the lingering effects. For the first 6 months of the year, economic activity was below pre-COVID levels, but slightly above the comparable figure in 2020.
Grenada was the last CARICOM representative to address the UN debate on Monday. Cherry and Blackburn Stephen, GBN News.
Another weekend of no movement saw health officials and volunteers engaged in testing and vaccination drives in various parts of the country. GBN's Rena Pear Thomas visited two of the sites in St. Andrew over the weekend and sent us this report.
Over the past 2 weeks, the Ministry of Health erected pop-up clinics in various communities so the population can have easy access to COVID-19 testing and vaccination as a means of fighting the spread of the COVID-19 virus in Grenada. With the extension of the country's No Movement Weekend, health officials continue the drive in all parishes. On Saturday, Dr. Clint Williams and his team were in St. Andrew's Southeast volunteering their services. He said the outcome was good.
Okay, so today the team visited the community of Post Royal, where we had a total of 35 people being vaccinated, right? All were first dose, and we also had a total of 30 people being tested, right? In which a few cases were positive, right? Secondly, we continue the campaign. We head along to the community of Subis. Now, this is a community that we have been to previously 2 weeks ago. So despite the fact that we were here before, the turnout was fairly okay. We have a rough estimation of 30 people at Subis being tested, again with a couple positive cases, right? Only 3 for that record. And in terms of vaccination, we had a total of 11 vaccinated in Subis.
The medical team headed by Dr. Williams consists of SGU students, doctors, and local volunteers. They also received a special visit from the parliamentary representative for the area, Emmeline Pear. Dr. Williams spoke of the other clinics he managed on previous weekends.
So the turnout overall was good, the campaign was good, and we're here. We'll continue again doing what we do every week for the better of Grenada. The experience was a great one, one that, not only how to vaccinate people, but also to learn from the community and understand from their perspective what are the concerns in terms of the pandemic that we're dealing with, to bring some clarity in terms of the vaccination and a bit of the rumors that was being spread. So overall, I think it was a good initiative taken by the organizers.
On Sunday, the team visited the community of Graham Bacolet. For GBN News, I am Rena Pear Thomas reporting.
We continue with healthcare shifting gears, removing from the East Coast and going along the western side of the island now, where the ultra-modern Gov Health Center has been designated as a COVID-19 testing and vaccination facility for the parishes of St. John and St. Mark. GBN's Rena Pear Thomas spoke with health officials about this development today.
COVID-19 testing and vaccination will now be conducted at the top floor of the ultra-modern Gov Health Center every Monday, Wednesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. In recent weeks, Grenada has seen a steady increase in the number of COVID-19 infections and death. Health authorities have therefore been undertaking various public health interventions, including increased public education, testing and vaccination to curb the spread. Health Minister Nicholas Steele welcomed the addition to the new site as his ministry ramps up COVID-19 testing and vaccination throughout the island.
We're pleased to announce that we have started, as of today, vaccine and testing at our Gore Polyclinic. The polyclinic is not yet fully commissioned, but in working with the contractor, Ministry of Implementation, SGU and WINREF, we're able to have that site up.
Staff and clients, people are advised to follow the established COVID-19 health and safety prevention protocols while visiting the facility. They are also reminded to walk with a valid photo identification card for quick and easy registration. Those returning for their second dose are reminded to walk with the vaccination card that was provided when they received the first dose. Mrs. Hannah Julian St. Paul, Permanent Secretary with responsibility for hospital and community health services, gave an insight on what the first day of operation looks like.
We have seen a very good turnout of persons accessing the service at the facility. They commenced operation at 9 this morning, and to this time we have reported a total of 13,500 persons accessing vaccination and 72 persons testing for COVID-19. Yes, we believe that persons within that area will take that advantage and access the service. It is something they've been looking forward to, and we have seen that shown in the numbers that we are recording here on the first day.
The Ministry of Health encourages the public to be patient and cooperate with the staff when visiting the Guelph Health Center. For GBN News, I am Rena Pett Thomas reporting.
And here at the GBN, we make room for you to be part of the news reporting process. Let's see what our citizen journalists submitted for GBN ISOR this evening.
Tonight's submission is a mix of what was heard and seen. On Sunday, September 26th, the state of Grenada experienced daytime thunder. GBN's ISOR reporter says Sunday's weather conditions disrupted their internet connection by sparking one electrical pole in their area. Our ISOR reporter noted that the internet service was eventually restored. We thank our ISOR reporter for this submission. Continue to send us your photo and video submissions via WhatsApp on 405-3052 or our other social media platforms.
Before we went on a commercial break, we did tell you that two agencies are to benefit from a major project being launched this week. Well, those two agencies are the Marketing and National Importing Board and the Bureau of Standards. The project is being launched by the European Union and the Caribbean Development Bank. It has been taglined Agri-Food Sector Development and Strengthening of the National Food Safety System in Grenada. It will be launched on Wednesday. It is being done, as we mentioned, in collaboration with the Grenada Bureau of Standards and the Marketing and National Importing Board. It is a €8.7 million project which will seek to enhance Grenada's national quality infrastructure. Grenada is the sixth beneficiary of the CARIFORUM European Union Economic Partnership Agreement, or the EPA, and the CARICOM Single Market and Economy CSME Standby Facility for Capacity Building. It is being financed by the 11th European Development Fund, the EDF, and administered by the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB. The Marketing and National Importing Board, the main beneficiary, will receive 3 refrigerated trucks. The Grenada Bureau of Standards and the Ministry of Agriculture will benefit from training in the areas of hazard analysis, critical control points, or HACCP, and post-harvest handling techniques. And moving on now to budgeting, Grenada and other countries in the Eastern Caribbean have found that they have been financially exposed during the pandemic. The need for stimulus packages and the economic fallout from the crisis has pointed to the need for proper budgeting. Let's get more on that from Gerard Joseph.
The advice being given is not to put financial planning or goals on hold, as most people have taken a wait-and-see approach to the pandemic. Charmaine Francois, CEO, National Commercial Bank of Anguilla, instead recommends a review of current financial plans.
One of the critical ones is to reassess your spending. prioritize in terms of wants versus needs. So the essential thing for us today is to focus on the essential items, your needs, and the non-essential can be removed. So the focus have to be on food, health, safety, the core.
Francois says reassessing your debt is also critical, planning beyond the loan deferrals being offered by financial institutions. She also addresses major concerns facing individuals and families as to whether they should invest at this time.
It all depends on affordability. So the end result is whether you can afford that financial that decision that you're taking on. So if you're going into a mortgage loan, you have to assess whether your cash flows can support. That's a critical aspect, whether your cash flows can support and assessing affordability.
The CEO notes that during the pandemic, interest rates are at its lowest in history, thus an opportune time for investment. Francois is promoting planned spending and intentional saving.
There's unconscious spending, which is the one that is detrimental to achieving your financial objectives. So where you spending without a plan, there's no budgeting, basically a lot of impulse buying, that type of spending will affect you achieving your financial goals. Where you have in terms of saving is critical at this time. And even throughout one's working life, one of the advice that we always put forward is that one should always put aside at minimum 10% of the earnings.
She also advocates the building of an emergency fund to find some type of easement during the pandemic.
So that fund now can assist in terms of meeting the expenses. And typically the rule of thumb is that one should have at least 6 months of expenses saved up. The pandemic now has shown us that you need to have way more than 6 months, because we now were about 18, almost 2 years into the heading into 2 years into the pandemic.
The banker is advising people who are still gainfully employed to set aside more towards a survival budget. I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.
Once upon a time, we shopped at Wonderland, then Neverland. But we're all grown up now and no longer believe in fairy tales. So now we just shop at Shoes R Us. At Shoes R Us, we stock the latest in shoes, tops, and jeans for the fashion-conscious lady. We also carry colognes and much, much more. And for the modern trendy male, we have the latest brand-name shoes and sneakers, Converse, Reebok, Nike, K-Swiss, Puma, and much more. So check us out at our 2 convenient locations, Melville Street in St. George and Ben Jones Street in Granville. At Shoes R Us, we say, come shop with us.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas?
Get Rubis, get going.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Fallage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
A whole new level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, because we are open Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
Introducing Color by Seasons. 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 Color by Seasons.
Imagine having the home of your dreams. Imagine investing in that piece of property you can call your own. Imagine finally doing that home improvement project you've always been thinking about. It's time to stop imagining and start doing. Let the GUT Credit Union help you take the first step with fantastic rates, affordable repayments, and reduced legal fees. Make the move. Get better terms on your mortgage. Use your home equity to make those dreams a reality. Act now. There's really no place like home. GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 418-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Foliage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Ultratech gasoline and diesel, available only at Rubis stations.
There's no better way to start your day than with me on Good Morning Grenada. Covering everything you need to start your mornings off right. 6:35 a.m. on weekdays on all GBN platforms. Good Morning Grenada, adding a little blossom to your mornings.
We represent 4/7 trade.
prevent cold and flu by washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. That's the time it takes to remove most germs. No soap and water? No worries when you've got alcohol-based hand sanitizer.
Welcome back to Good Morning Grenada. It is now 17 minutes after 7 o'clock. Thank you, those of you just joining us. Happy to have you. And those of you who stuck with us, thank you for your patience. Let's get into this morning's discussion. I have joining me virtually this morning is Doping Control Officer Samantha Dickson, and she's part of the Grenada GNADO, the anti-doping organization here in Grenada. They recently had an election, and they are basically reminding athletes of the importance of anti-doping. That's what the latest moves by the GNADO is all about. So let's first say good morning to Ms. Dickson. Happy to have you. How are you?
Good morning, Blossom, and good morning to your listeners and your viewers. I am doing fine, and I'm happy to be here to share education and information on behalf of Grenada National Anti-Doping Organization, Grenada GNADO.
Happy to have you. So like I mentioned, there was recently the election of a new committee. So just share with us who the members of the new committee are, and then we're going to get further into the discussion.
Sure. So I just want to step back a little bit. Grenada GNADO actually began its formation as far back as 1998 with the late Dr. David Lambert, Dr. Sonia Johnson, who happened to be the new chair. She's been the chair over time, has been out of the chair and back in it, and she just replaced Joel Johnson. Other persons on the committee are myself as a doping control officer. We have other doping control officers, chaperones, nurses, just volunteers that have taken a stance to support doping education and, the pros and cons of this subject matter here in Grenada.
What's the mandate of GNADO?
So the Grenada GNADO is really an organization within the sporting fraternity. So we align with the Grenada Olympic Committee and then the Ministry of Sport at that level. And then locally, we are here as a support function for all coaches, athletes, parents. It's just general sporting issues. On the external part of it, we are members of the Caribbean Regional Anti-Doping Organization, and globally a member of the World Anti-Doping Agency. So, just like you have the national grouping, then you have the regional and the international. And of course, here in Grenada, a lot of what we do has to do with education. And then from that education, we have testing, whether it's in competition or out of competition, as some of the things that we do.
How is GNADO able to do the things that it needs to do in controlling and ensuring that our athletes stay as safe as possible and continuing to drive home the importance of the anti-doping campaign?
So I'm really happy you asked that $1 million question, and I'm going to answer it on two fronts. So with everything else, we need resources to do what we do. Unfortunately, we do not have a steady pool of resources. Many times we volunteer and we put, even personal raisings, and we go around the country to do things because we know of the importance. As small as Grenada is, ignorance is not an excuse. We have international athletes, and we don't want to be on the world stage and some athletes say, well, I've never heard about this, or I don't know what this is, or one of our athletes get called up to do testing on the regional or international scene, and they don't know what to expect. So, we're doing this out of love for sport and interest as well. At the same time, we continue through our education programs to try it from very young. And I'm going to take this opportunity to promote what we call the workbook. And so this workbook has been adapted from the Caribbean Anti-Doping Agency regional workbook, and we tailored it back in, I believe, 2012 on a project that we had. We produced some 5,000 copies and got it into most of the primary, some of the secondary, some of the private schools. We continue to have workshops, mainland, Carriacou, to Pitty-Matnik, to cover as much as we can. And recently, just before the reopening of the Michael Mas school term, that week when teachers and coaches get together for self-development and professional planning, we seized the opportunity to have a virtual session, and I think we had some 30 persons participate, and the intention was to continue promoting education through this workbook in our school networks.
You mentioned that GNADO being able to test our athletes and so on. Somebody may be wondering, GNADO does that? Grenada has the capability to do that? How do we do that? How do we accommodate ensuring that our athletes are up to par when it comes to anti-doping, whether it's collecting the samples and having them tested?
Yes, another great question. So we try to do about 10 out-of-competition tests every year. Now, a test costs about $300 US. And I mentioned earlier that we don't have a particular fund to be able to reach out and say, well, hey, you can get tested. So what we encourage clubs to do is to, at least when they're planning their budgets, to put in one test for the year and try to use that as an education opportunity for their club. Now, we have 5 doping control officers in Grenada. We participate in regional international activities. We're as qualified as any doping control officer around the world, receive training from all the international agencies. So we can be called upon to go elsewhere to do this work. And we want to exhibit this energy in Grenada. So with that 10 tests that we try to do, we could do more, but then sometimes the funding just, limit us to 10. We randomize the various fraternities. And if, let's say, we did football or cricket or basketball, netball, table tennis this year, then we try to diversify to cover all the various, disciplines. And then we go to the clubs and then we choose somebody at random. It's really randomized testing, put everybody's name in a box and dip one in front of everybody else. So it's a real transparent process. And then we take athletes through the entire process of what it is to get tested. From the time we notify you what authority we have to do that, because that authority has to come from somewhere. We chaperone, we stay with you until you give us that sample. We have to visualize you giving the sample, and it's very uncomfortable for some persons when they don't know what the process is. And so when you're given the sample, you have to take almost everything off. We have to see everything, and we have to see the collection of the sample. And then we go through that process of safeguarding it, sealing it properly, doing what we have to do with it, and then sending it off by courier. Right now, we use the labs in Canada. And then so all that time you're waiting, because it takes like a couple of weeks for your results to come back, and then you get your results. And then, so it's all that is part of the education as well. There are resources with everything, the web is there. WADA has a website, Caribbean RADO has a website. We have a Facebook page. So we use the platforms that we have to try to do this the best way we know how.
Have we ever discovered an athlete, or has any Grenadian athlete failed any of those tests?
So if you were following the news recently, we had an athlete who did not test positive by way of a sample. And it's another important thing that you raised. So for example, if we call an athlete and you refuse to come, that could be considered a positive test. So, so again, ignorance is not an excuse. If you get called, you show up, because you have to give the sample. And it's better you proven innocent than you refuse the sample and then you're called guilty, whether or not you were guilty. So again, ignorance, when you get called up, you have to be there. Our international athletes have to stay where they are at all times. There's something called whereabouts. And so you go on the Adams site on the WADA, put in the date and time and so on, and the authority have to know where you are at all times. It's just part of the sport.
So that's the only case that we've had like that? We haven't had any positive?
That's the only case that I am aware of that we've had from my interventions from the time I have been around, which has been 2002. So I'm coming up on my 20th year celebration soon. But that's the only positive case, Grenadian associated case that I've known about. And again, it was about failure to report.
To report, right. I remember, I think that was last year or year before. I remember the athlete. How should I put it? What do we look for? I know different disciplines have different drugs or medication that are put on the, how should I put it, don't take list or don't use list.
That's a list.
What about Grenada? What are our restrictions that athletes should be aware of, and how does it differ from other maybe Caribbean or international countries?
Right. So the list is the same list. It's an international list. It's called the prohibited list. It comes out every year, and it's on the website. It's out there. We usually have little printed, pockets that you take around, but it's a whole list, so you can't print all. And so we print them out in categories. I'm not the expert when it comes to medicine, but I'm sure our chairperson, Dr. Sonia Johnson, when she joins other, initiatives, it would be a good time to ask her some of those. But the thing is, when you take a test, it shows up everything. And we were once discussing, it can show up marijuana, for example, and that's a common substance that we use in the Caribbean. But again, with every prohibited list, there's going to be limitations, there's going to be amounts. So they're testing things, and there's a discussion about whether the issue of marijuana should be on that list, because I think we had that US case not too long ago that caused an athlete not to even perform in an event. And so just knowing, and if you in sport, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like if you're a medical person going to work, you can't go to work drunk because you're going to treat people. And in a similar way, you want to win fair. You want to show people that this is natural ability. Eat the dasheen and the breadfruit and go out there with the natural energies that you have and win fairly and squarely.
In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, locally, we have not had any major sporting events in the last almost 2 years. We're in September, so almost 2 years. How have our athletes and how has GNADO been ensuring our athletes still stick to the plan? Because it's easy to become complacent, thinking, oh, know what, I ain't have no track and field meet next week. Let me chill out. How has GNADO been able to keep our athletes up to par?
So again, like everything else, we have to revert to the virtual setting as well. But I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Grenada GNADO to just take a moment and to express our condolences to any of our athletes, relatives, coaches, teachers, who have lost loved ones in this pandemic. We've all been touched in some way or another. I have colleagues, friends, you name it, relatives, and again, we plod on, we plod ahead. This is a time when we really feel the meaning of the word resilience. And to say that we've been putting little snippets on our Facebook pages. We've been trying to have virtual things with our beneficiaries. We encourage people to take care of themselves. Mental health is important. Exercise, talk to people. We hear it time and time again. And now we have sporting people coming on here and telling you the same thing. So, we have a little saying, if 100 or 1,000 Frenchmen say the same thing, we're not wrong. And then we hear it in different platforms. The importance of taking care of self, trying to eat well, exercise, run around the house, run around the yard, even with the lockdown weekend, skip, put up a makeshift hoop around in the backyard. Just keep physical, keep physically engaged, because at some point you're going to have to get back out there, and we don't want all the weight that you lumped on after 2 years of probably not doing something to just be there waiting to get off. It's going to be a tough one to get off all that. So keep physical. During the lockdown, some of us learned to put on the same social media and do steps right in front of the TV and step in, and we were able to keep at least our weight to a degree that it should be acceptable.
There's also the issue of using over-the-counter medication that just may include things that are on the prohibited list. Is that a major issue or concern here locally for us in Grenada? Internationally, I think they may have, a wider use of medication, that they may stand a chance of dabbling in this prohibited thing or not. But do we have that concern in Grenada where our athletes are like, listen, I need to take Blossom tablets, but Blossom tablets may have a trace of this in it?
So again, it leads back to education. And so over-the-counter drugs, as you put it, is easy. We have it every day in the cabinet and so on. And that is why it's good to have a look at the prohibited list and to see what's on it and the ingredients that make up those over-the-counter things. So for example, you might be drinking a cough medicine. And you might be taking something for a simple cough that you think is a cough, but then they might have something in it it could show up in your blood or in your urine, and it comes off as something that you shouldn't have at the time when you're taking part in certain things. I'm going to take a quick minute to talk about something that we call TUEs. It's therapeutic use exemption, but again, it has to be certified by your doctor. So there are things, there are athletes who have issues, who have to take things for various issues they may have. And so if they're on any kind of medication, there's ways and means of notifying persons about that, so that if it's sure that you have one of those TUEs signed by a medical doctor, and of course it's acceptable.
What's the age limit for an athlete that can get tested? And is it only for international level athletes? Because we still have some local athletes who may be performing regionally and or just locally and have not gotten to the international stage as yet. Can they be tested?
Yes. So if like everything else, if a student is an athlete, let's say secondary school, primary school, and wanted to be tested, they can, but we'd have to get parental consent. And then once you're an adult, of course, we get your consent. In all that we do, we get your consent. You have to sign given consent. And so for persons who are underage in the general context, but if they're athletes and they're performing at, let's say, intercol, and we want to use this opportunity to educate at that level, then of course, parental consent will come into play. So anybody could, actually get tested. But again, look at it from a different perspective. Testing in the education sense, anybody. And then testing in competition would be, of course, to see that you're participating on a fair, level playing field.
Earlier you mentioned that Grenadian doping control officers, we have the capability and the qualifications of the other officers around the world. What sort of opportunities are there for our local doping officers to share their skills internationally, and what are the opportunities for somebody locally who wants to become a doping officer?
Lovely. So the opportunities are there. With every game that's happening in the region or internationally, we do have the opportunity to participate. However, the catch is you normally have to pay your airfare by yourself. And so we could see how that could be a deterrent. Let's say you were going to Asia for games or something like that. It'd be easier to be in the region. At the regional level, they would reach out for volunteers, and that's what we call it. It's volunteers, and you have people paying their airfare out of their own funding. And then when you get to the event, everything else is taken care of for you on behalf of the organization. And so a lot of times we make this personal commitment. I have had colleagues who've gone off to games. Dr. Johnson have gone off to the Commonwealth Games a couple of times. Joel have gone off to games. I was nearly deployed to a game and then things changed, so I had to change my mind, but I was willing to go. And then to become the doping control officer, it's a process. As I said recently, I was going to celebrate 20 years around the corner. I started off as a chaperone, and I remember Dr. Johnson is the one got me involved. I was their busybody volunteering, and then she snatched me up and said, hey, she must have seen something and said, come, sit down, watch this. And she just took me under her wing, showed me what the process was. I worked with Dr. Adrian Lord out of the Barbados Regional Anti-Doping Agency, and the rest is history. You just have to volunteer. Bring with it your the traits of integrity, honesty, transparency, accountability, all those things. You volunteer, fair play, you just have a love for wanting to help your brother man here in Grenada, eventually elsewhere, and you move up the ranks. And then, of course, because you learn the process, and then you become higher and higher as you get involved. And of course, the training opportunities are there locally, regionally, and all our doping control officers, like I said, are trained world standard.
What would you say to somebody whose mindset may be, what are we really doing with our Grenada anti-doping organization? We don't have that problem here in Greens. We don't do drugs. What would you say to somebody like that?
I would say to them, Kirani James, all those international athletes, they can't go out there and say they don't know. We're sure that Kirani has been tested 10,000 times. And there's no question about that. And so when we put our athletes out there, he had to go through that process. And we would like to sit here and think that, oh, he was frightened or, he didn't know what to expect. So it's not that you're guilty of anything, but even just knowing what to expect could put your mind at ease, that kind of thing. And then, of course, it's not like you participate in one event and then you get tested. So you might be getting tested, but you have to go and participate in another event. And so not knowing can make you nervous, can, mess with your psyche and all of that. So it really starts with education first, knowing the process and being aware. And just for education and edification, we want to stand on the world stage with everybody else. So we have to meet up to the table as well. We're not going to not do it because it probably isn't a thing. We want it to be a thing, and we want everybody to be on board. And we want, athletes from very young get involved in school, even, because that's where it starts, at the pre-primary school level, if needs be.
And finally from me, when does GNADO come into play in terms of getting the sample and sending it off to get tested? Outside of random testing, is it only when the international athletes or the athletes perform here, or if they're leaving here to go somewhere? Where does it start for GNADO?
So it can start anywhere. Testing, once we get that order, and the order can come from any of the authorities, be it the Caribbean RADO or the World Anti-Doping. It depends on the fraternity. It could come from the Cricket Association. It can come from FIFA. It could come, and if they want testing done, we are the authority on ground to do that, whether it's in competition, whether it's out of competition, whether it's for local performance, whether it's for international performance. Once the need is there, once the call is made, it's the Grenada GNADO to perform the duties.
Okay. And any final thoughts that you'd like to share this morning as GNADO continues its work?
So as we go forward, we'd like to promote the opportunity for people to volunteer with us. We have the Facebook page, send us a message. We have our email, grenadanado@gmail.com. Send us a message. I'm pretty much popular, Dr. Sonia Johnson out there. When you meet us through the Ministry of Sport, through the Olympic Committee, just ask about Grenada GNADO, get involved and play your part.
And that can span any sporting discipline.
It is spanning any sporting discipline.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Ms. Dickson. Appreciate it very much, and continue doing what you're doing. Good luck to the new executive. How recent was the election?
The election was just a couple of weeks ago, and so the formalization just took place a couple of days ago. So it's pretty new, but the people involved are people with experience. We do have some new members, but like we say, we're growing from strength to strength. So thank you for this opportunity. Stay well, stay safe, and we encourage all the protocols for COVID-19. We hear it all the time, but Grenada GNADO also says the same thing. Wash hands, physical distance, sanitize, wear your mask, get vaccinated.
Amen.
Stay well.
That. Thank you very much, and you stay well and safe as well. All my best to the executives. Tell Dr. Nixon I said bless up yourself. Have a good one. Doping Control Officer on the Grenada National Anti-Doping Organization, Samantha Dickson, the new executive recently elected, but the organization has been around for over 2 decades now, and they continue to do their best. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and wind down the televised portion of Good Morning Grenada on this terrific Tuesday.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11, K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Feel good tax.
Remember, if you have flu symptoms, do the right thing and stay at home to avoid giving it to others. Remember, you can be infectious up to a week after developing symptoms, so rest up and take it easy.
Welcome back to Good Morning Grenada. Just back to wish each and every one of you a blessed, productive COVID-19 protocol in place Tuesday. Thank you very much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. A reminder that the RGPF is still trying to get its communication lines restored. The numbers, you can reach them in the meantime, 440-2823 and 407-3122. The number to the headquarters, 3999 as well as 911. They are both down. Their emergency numbers are down. So those are the two numbers provided in the meantime. COVID-19 testing and or vaccination continues at various sites across the island, including the National Stadium, health centers. Today's Tuesday, so that means it's available at the St. Augustine Medical Station today as well. For the residents on the Western Corridor, you can check out the Guelph Polyclinic on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for testing and or vaccinations. Pop-up sites continue to be held across the island, and once I see the latest information, I would share it with you. In the meantime, wishing each and every one of you a blessed, productive Tuesday. Be safe, be good, be cautious, wear your masks, soap and water to wash your hands, hand sanitizer if they're not readily available, 6-foot distance. Those of you in public transportation, good morning to all our bus drivers and conductors, doing what you need to keep your passengers and yourselves safe. Just yesterday I saw a passenger actually walking to meet a conductor walking to meet his passengers with his hand sanitizer spray bottle and spraying hands as they make their way to the bus. Love to see it. Keep it up. Never mind, it was just one, but nevertheless, one as at least is, I'm sure it's an improvement. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Bye, deep boy.
Let them know I don't have no time for no drama.